In the shadow of the Colorado Rockies, nestled just outside the quiet town of Estes Park, stands a grand and beautiful structure, surrounded by tall pine trees and mountains that seem to whisper with the wind. The Stanley Hotel looks like a place frozen in time. Its white colonial facade, red roof, and grand porch give it a charming, almost storybook feel. But behind that elegance, the hotel holds a reputation that sends a chill down many spines. The Stanley Hotel isn't just another luxury resort. It has become one of the most well-known haunted locations in the United States. People don't just go there for the views or the comfort. They go for the stories, for the strange things people say they've heard, seen, felt, things they can't quite explain. And whether you believe in ghosts or not, the history of this place has enough mystery, sorrow, and fear to pull anyone in. It all started with a man named Freeland Oscar Stanley. In the early 1900s, Freeland was a wealthy inventor. He and his twin brother had made a fortune building steam-powered cars and even developed a line of air-powered tools. But in 1903, Freeland was diagnosed with tuberculosis. At the time, it was often fatal. Doctors told him to go somewhere with fresh, dry air. So he and his wife Flora packed up and traveled to Estes Park, Colorado. Back then, Estes Park was remote, wild, but Freeland felt something in the mountain air. He began to recover, inspired by the beauty around him and wanting to bring high society to the wilderness. He decided to build a hotel. Not just any hotel, but a place of elegance, filled with electricity, telephones, and the finest touches of East Coast charm. By 1909, the Stanley Hotel opened its doors. It was grand, refined, and isolated. From the beginning, it was clear that this hotel would become something special. But no one could have guessed what kind of stories would be tied to it over the years. During the early decades, the Stanley Hotel served as a quiet mountain escape for the rich. But over time, strange stories began to circulate. Staff would talk about unexplained footsteps in empty hallways, doors opening and closing on their own, lights flickering without reason. Then came the stories about room 217. One night in 1911, a massive explosion shook the hotel. A maid named Elizabeth Wilson had been sent to room 217 to light the gas lamps. Back then, electricity was unreliable in the mountains, and gas lighting was still in use. Unbeknownst to her, gas had filled the room due to a leak. When she struck a match, the room exploded. She survived, but just barely. Her injuries were serious, but she returned to work the next season. Over time, guests who stayed in room 217 reported strange happenings. Some said they woke up to find their clothes neatly folded at the foot of the bed. Others heard footsteps in the room at night, or felt a cold presence standing nearby. Many believe Elizabeth never truly left, that her spirit still roams the room she nearly died in, watching, tending, protecting. But room 217 is just the beginning. The fourth floor of the Stanley Hotel is another hot spot for strange activity. Once used as a space for children and their nannies, guests have long reported hearing the sound of children running through the halls, laughing, even playing with unseen toys, especially when no children were checked in. Some guests say they've heard their names whispered. Others claim they've seen shadowy figures standing at the end of the hallway, only to vanish when approached. One former housekeeper once said she refused to work the night shift on the fourth floor. She felt watched, followed, even pushed. Something about that part of the hotel always felt off. Then there's the music room. This was Flora Stanley's favorite place. She was a gifted pianist and would often spend hours playing for guests. Today, some staff and guests claim they've heard a piano playing softly, even when no one is near it. When they go to check, the room is empty, the keys still. Flora passed away long ago, but many believe she still plays. That the music room is her way of staying connected to a place she loved so deeply. Of course, much of the Stanley's reputation exploded into the public eye in 1974. That year, a struggling writer named Stephen King checked into the hotel with his wife, Tabitha. They arrived just before the hotel was set to shut down for the winter. The building was nearly empty. The dining room was quiet. The long halls echoed with the sound of their footsteps. They stayed in room 217. That night, King had a vivid nightmare. He dreamed of his young son being chased through the hotel's long, empty corridors by a fire hose that had come to life. He woke up, sweaty and shaken, lit a cigarette, and stared out the window. By the time he finished the cigarette, the idea for The Shining was born. The Stanley Hotel became the inspiration for the Overlook Hotel, though the movie version was filmed elsewhere. Still, fans of the novel have been drawn to the Stanley ever since, hoping to catch a glimpse of what inspired King's terrifying story. But the truth is, the Stanley didn't become haunted because of The Shining. It was already haunted. Many paranormal investigators have spent the night there. TV crews from shows like Ghost Hunters and Paranormal Files have recorded strange activity, unexplained voices, cold spots, strange shadows. In one famous incident, a guest captured a photo of what looked like a young girl standing at the top of the stairs, even though no children were present at the time. Skeptics say it's just the power of suggestion, that once people expect something strange, they'll find it. But those who've stayed at the hotel often disagree. One woman said she woke up to find all her belongings unpacked and neatly arranged. She was alone. Another guest woke in the night to see an old-fashioned man standing at the foot of his bed, wearing a top hat. When he blinked, the man was gone. A security guard once reported hearing a party in the ballroom. Laughter, music, glasses clinking. When he opened the door to check, nothing. An empty room, silent and still. Time and again, the stories continue. But maybe what's most unsettling is that these stories don't feel like ghost stories, not in the usual sense. There's no blood, no screams, no demons, just presence. Quiet, strange, lingering presence. And that's what makes the Stanley so chilling. It feels alive, like the hotel itself remembers every moment that's happened within its walls, like the past refuses to leave. There's a strange connection between human memory and the spaces we inhabit. Sometimes the strongest emotions, love, fear, sorrow, can leave behind a trace, a kind of energy. And in a place like the Stanley, where people have lived, died, laughed, cried, and suffered, maybe all that emotion has soaked into the walls. Maybe that's why the air feels heavy at night, why footsteps echo when no one's there, why so many people walk in feeling curious and walk out feeling changed. Even today, the Stanley Hotel embraces its haunted legacy. They offer ghost tours, host paranormal conventions. Some rooms, like 217 and those on the 4th floor, are booked months in advance by those hoping to experience something, anything. And yet, beneath the thrill of the ghost stories, there's something deeper, something sadder. The Stanley isn't just a haunted hotel. It's a place filled with history, much of it forgotten or left behind. People like Elizabeth Wilson, who nearly died doing her job. Children who may have lived their whole lives in service there. Musicians like Flora, who poured their soul into the keys of a piano no one listens to anymore. In many ways, the Stanley Hotel reminds us of how time moves on, but memory clings. How buildings carry echoes of those who came before. How even the most beautiful places can hold shadows. As you step away from the story of the Stanley Hotel, ask yourself this: is it the ghosts we fear, or the stories they carry? Maybe what truly haunts us isn't the flicker of lights or the footsteps in the hall. Maybe it's the reminder that time forgets, but places remember. That the people who once lived, suffered, and loved don't always get to leave quietly. The Stanley Hotel still stands, proud and beautiful against the mountains. Tourists come and go. Laughter fills the halls. Music plays. But behind every corner, down every hallway, a story waits. Maybe one day, you'll visit. Maybe you'll hear something, feel something, and maybe, just maybe, it will never leave you.